Hello students, it's good to have you again. Our topic of discussion today is the home and automobile decision. These two major or crucial issues when it comes to spending or purchasing. They are decisions that are crucial to every human being. So we're going to look at how these decisions are being made or what to take note of before deciding on purchasing either of them or both of them. The learning objective includes one to make good buying decisions. How do you make good buying decisions? To choose a vehicle that suits your needs and budget, and to choose housing that meets your budget. Furthermore, we'll decide whether to rent or buy housing, like we'll discuss issues relating to that. And then we'll further look at a calculation of the cost of buying a home, especially, and then getting the most out of your mortgage. So these are the major learning outcomes that at the end of the lesson we expect to have been able to cover. Buying a home is the single biggest investment most people will make, especially in their lifetime, because investments are numerous, they are various, but when it comes to buying a house, it seems to be everybody's dream, regardless of status, regardless of gender, regardless of, as much as you've worked hard to earn your money, you would be looking forward to getting something like a home of your own. You understand? So buying a home is a single biggest investment that anybody would want to make. Buying a car is also another major purchasing decision, although it may depend on many other factors. These two decisions must, at the end of the day, fit the lifestyle and then your wallet. So your lifestyle is a major factor that is going to determine what you're going to buy in terms of housing, as well as automobile or car. And you also look at your wallet. So even your lifestyle may depend on your income, and your income especially relates to your wallet. So these two go hand in hand. You probably need a loan making dramatic impact on personal financing, because they are major investments, they are big investments, so to say. So at times it may not really be dependent on it may not be totally dependent on your income. You might need to get a loan and start servicing the loan gradually with whatever you are earning at intervals, whether monthly also and so on, or weekly, so to say. So before you decide to buy anything, whether housing or automobile, you have to be sure that you are purchasing or you are buying smart. And what do we mean by smart buying? It's just about making good decisions, all right? Making good decisions. There are a number of factors that you need to consider, and you need to look at every factor critically for you to be able to make the best decision that suits you. All right, so in terms of smart buying, just as you work hard to save money or to earn your money, you also really need to work hard to spend it, so that you'll be spending wisely, or you'll be buying smartly, so to say. So there are different factors that need to be considered. The first is that you have to differentiate want from need. You need to be able to differentiate, because it's not every other thing that we need, that we want, that are needed. So you need to be able to draw the line that, do I actually need this thing? All right, not all wants are needed. So you need to be able to identify that, okay, this item is a particular need. Generally speaking, the item might be a need, but there are some that might not be necessary. Probably maybe some aesthetics or some added values or something like that. They may not be necessity. The basic thing that will just serve your need might just be what is required. So even when a house is a need, or might be a need, you may still not need some other, you may not need a mansion, so for example, so to say, Okay, all you may just need is maybe like a 3-room apartment or a 4-room apartment, as it were. So this is a very, very vital factor that you need to consider in terms of smart buying. The second one is to do your homework. All right. After deciding to buy whatever you want to buy, you have to purchase it wisely. And in terms of this, you need to know how much you can afford to spend. Like I mentioned earlier, depending on your purse, depending on your income. And then you have to make research on the details about the brand you want to purchase, the quality, the features, you understand? So all these are still part of smart buying, doing your homework, making your research before you now go ahead and make your purchase. In making your purchase, at times you may want to check for the cheapest source of purchase. All right, maybe you want to buy direct from the manufacturer, or you want to go through their retail outlet or something like that. So for items such as car or whatever that may require negotiations, you may need to be there physically. You may need to even argue at times. You may need to negotiate. All right, okay, why not give me so percent discount and things like that. So all these are part of making your purchase. And then lastly is maintaining your purchase. That's getting the best product and service at the best price. You feel that, after doing your research very well, you should have got enough information for you to be able to decide which of the brands, which of the maybe the quality or the features that you are really looking after. All right, so in making your purchase, you may decide to, you may resolve to go to the manufacturer, like I mentioned earlier. You may go there physically to see what you want to buy. For example, if it's an automobile, if it's a car, you want to go there, see the features, see how it works. You might want to test drive and things like that. So, and then you might even also want to resolve any complaint or issues. If you have issues with the product or the brand or the anything, any feature of the item you want to purchase, let's say automobile in this instance. So all this will be addressed when you go there physically. So this is just a checklist for you to be conscious before you buy any item. You decide in advance exactly what you want and what you can afford. At times you may want something and it may not be affordable. So you need to be able to identify if you really want it and if you can actually afford it. Don't buy on impulse or because a salesperson is pressuring you. This is a normal thing because they are doing their job actually. Their job is to persuade you to purchase. So you should actually be able to know, be convinced within yourself that you actually need that item. So the list goes on and on. You can go through to serve as a guide for you. So making a complaint, like I mentioned earlier, when you have a complaint as part of the smart buying or maintaining your purchase, you can, make a complaint to the manufacturer especially or the customer service of the brand. So you may write a letter, which is a very good strategy. You have to be brief and go straight to the point to state exactly what you want done, what you want to be done to the product or the item that you have purchased. Don't forget that maintaining your purchase is more or less going to happen after the purchase, because you cannot complain about something that you've not used or that is not within your reach. So it's after you bought it and then you feel you have some complaints that you can now address the issue, or you can now identify the issues and send it to those who you expect to address it. So it should also contain your maybe your name, your address, your phone number, how they will contact you easily in case they want to reach out to you to resolve the issue. Then you have to keep a record of your efforts. You need to tell the seller maybe you've made any effort to correct the issue before you are sending the complaint to them. This is a sample of a complaint letter. All the details that were mentioned earlier, you can notice them here. Your own address, your details, the address of the manufacturer, and so on. Then what exactly the issue is, and then the effort that you've made to resolve the issue. So this is smart buying in terms of buying a vehicle. Don't forget that we've been talking about either buying a vehicle or a house. So we're going to start with buying a vehicle. If you want to buy a vehicle, there are many options available. You may consider buying a new one. You may consider buying a used car, or you may even consider leasing. There are some people who prefer to change car often. So rather than buying a brand new one, they might just want to get a leasing automobile, such that after using it for a few years, they would return it and then get another one. So some people's lifestyle is just like that. So you have to differentiate your want from need. Like I mentioned earlier, that's the first thing, the first step in terms of smart buying. What are the features and the qualities that you want in a car or in an automobile? Or what are the features and the qualities that you need? Don't forget that we've differentiated between want and need, and I've mentioned that not all wants are needed. All right, so there are some qualities that are just aesthetics, and they are just you know, like extra. Let's just call them extraordinary. So you may not really need them, as long as you know the basic features of automobile is available. You know, if you are especially the prudent type, you may just want to go for the basic. All right, all the basic features of the car, once they are present in the brand or the you know, the model that you want to buy, you can go ahead and buy that. So you may not necessarily need a lot of aesthetics or whatever that is being added to the car. Have to do your own work. That is the second step. All right, that's the second step in terms of smart buying. Whatever you want to buy, whether a home or a car or whatever, you have to do your own work. You have to make research on how much you can afford. Then you think about the down payment and the monthly payment, because if you are getting it via a loan, which is the most common thing, initially you will be asked to pay a particular down payment. So that's the initial payment before you now continue paying the rest monthly, including the interest. So you need to know, do your research about the different kinds of brands of automobile, and then the prices, the costs. Look at your own income, look at what you have, look at how much you can afford to you know, save or pay in terms of servicing your loan. So the second thing to consider is which vehicle is right for you. You have to, you know, compare the shops or the brands. You check their prices, you check their attributes, and you have to also consider the operating and insurance cost and warranty. There are times that some vehicle might be cheap, but their maintenance might be so expensive. So this needs to be considered before you make your purchase. And then the insurance cost as well. It's not only the cost of the automobile, okay, you also need to consider the insurance cost as well as the warranty. Some vehicles have longer warranties than the others, so you need to also take this factor into consideration. Then you now make your purchase. All right, you make your purchase after doing your own work. You proceed to buy whatever you want to buy. You get a fair price. You know the dealer cost or invoice price. All these are related to research. You must have done research on all this before you decide. All right, the dealer holdback is around 2 to 3%. The manufacturer gives the dealer on the sale of the automobile. So you have to approach like quite different dealers for you to be able to get their quotations and the like, and then you negotiate with them. All right, you negotiate. Most times investment like this that require a lot of money also require some negotiations. All right, so especially when you think your down payment will be quite high, and then you want to pay within a short period of time, so you might have greater chances of negotiating for cheaper prices. So this is just a checklist on tips to buy a new vehicle. You have to evaluate your needs and financial situation, like I've mentioned severally. So you have to check several websites where you can compare the different models, the different brands, their quality. You might even read some customer review and different things like that, just for you to get an overall idea of everything that concerns the automobile or the home. So these are more tips on buying a new vehicle. You have to read and understand every document you're asked to sign. You don't just sign whatever document is passed to you. You have to read it carefully. At times, you might even need the service of a professional, maybe for instance, a lawyer or something like that, to help you interpret, or to interpret the clauses in the contract, so to say. So don't make hasty decision. You have to leave your checkbook at home. Don't buy. I mean, you don't have to leave your checkbook at home, please. You have to take it along with you, check everything, and then make sure that you are making the right decision. Don't buy because the salesperson is pressurizing you, like I mentioned earlier. It's just their job, so you have to be focused on what you want and how you want it, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the month, you are advised to shop at the end of the month, because this is when dealers are trying to meet quotas, so they may be willing to take less than any other time of the month. They might just buy into your negotiations, especially if you go towards the end of the month, because they are also trying to meet up with their their quotas for the month. So here is the checklist of buying used vehicle. Don't forget, I will mention that you can get a brand new car. You might buy a used vehicle, or you might even want to go for leasing. So if you're buying a used vehicle, you need to check all these lists. You check the newspaper ads and used car guides, all right, so that you can have a fair price of what you want. You look up repair recalls, all right, for car models that you're considering. Don't agree to buy a car unless you've had it inspected and by an independent mechanic of your choice. You have to get an independent mechanic to check the car to be sure that everything is in good condition before you decide to buy the used vehicle. Lastly, don't sign anything that you don't understand. Read all the documents carefully, negotiate the changes you want, and get them written into the contract. And like I mentioned earlier, there is no big deal in getting a professional hand in this, to get to involve a professional, so that everything can go smoothly. Making your purchase is the last step, right? Oh, sorry, making your purchase is the third step, while maintaining it is the last step. So you have different financing alternatives when it comes to making your purchase. The cheapest is the cash. That's where you want to pay down payment, make payment for everything at once. And this one is very quite tough, especially for salary earners and so. The second thing is to investigate all financing options before you buy. Check all options that you have before you decide to buy. Keep financing out of the negotiations. Then the shorter the term, the higher the monthly payment. If you are paying for maybe over 24 months, you might be paying lesser than someone who wants to pay over 48 months, for example. So those are the things to take note of in terms of making your purchase. And then you also, if you are leasing, all right, if you want to go for leasing, then it's ideal for financially stable people. You have to note that. If you want new car every few years, of course, leasing might be ideal for you. If you drive less than 15,000 miles annually, getting a leased car is also good for you. it's a good form of credit, and then there is no down payment. All right. There are options such as the close-end or walk-away lease, the purchase option, as well as the open-end lease. These are checklists for leasing your car if you're going for the leasing option for automobile. The first is that the lease under consideration is a close-ended, not an open-ended one. The second one is that you are financially stable. You need to be financially stable if you want to go for the leasing option. It's important to you that you have a new car every 2 to 4 years. If it's not that much necessary to change your car that often, then you may consider the other options such as the loan option. So all these are related, or all these are checklists if you want to go for the leasing option. So it may only make sense if all this actually applies to you. Making your purchase, still on making your purchase, if you want to buy a vehicle, we've talked about leasing. If you now want to buy, these are the following things that you need to put into consideration when you're making your purchase. The keys to getting good lease is one, to negotiate value for car before signing the lease. You negotiate the value, then you negotiate the minimum down payment as well. You look at the warranty, all right? You look at the warranty critically. There are times that, the normal wear and tear are there for the cars. It's normal when you drive a car, for some of the parts to wear. So all these should be taken care of critically, especially in the warranty. Then the termination fee, the depreciation factor, and then the rent or finance and charge are all things that you need to consider. Here's a document, the Federal Consumer Leasing Act Lease Disclosure Form. It's a form, so you can just have a look at it to understand the features and then the information that are there. So the last step, or the fourth step in your smart buying decision, is to maintain your purchase. And like I mentioned earlier, maintaining your purchase means that you must, what happens after the purchase is already made. The first thing is to keep the vehicle in best running condition. All right, you have to maintain it properly. Don't ignore signs of trouble. For example, maybe the sound, you can observe maybe a particular or a strange sound from the engine, from the, you check the tires often, you check the maybe engine oil and other stuff. Don't ignore any sign of trouble, as they might cause some bigger troubles if you ignore them. Your first line of protection is the warranty, so you have to look for what the warranty covers. You look for what the warranty covers so that you'll be able to know where to go when you need to maintain the the car or automobile. Then you're right under the lemon laws. You're right under the lemon laws. Lemon laws requires that you make at least 4 attempts to fix the problem, and that your car be out of service for at least like 30 days. You've not been able to use it for like 30 days during the first year after the purchase, or the first 12,000 miles. So if that's the case, then you are entitled to a refund in your purchase. That means you can get refund for your purchase. So that is the lemon law. It requires that at least you must have made attempts to repair the car, to fix the problem, about 4 attempts, and then the car must have been down. Maybe you've not been able to use it for at least 30 days during the first year of purchase. 30 days during the first year of purchase. So if all these conditions are met, then you are entitled to lemon law to you are entitled to get a refund for your purchase. So there is a worksheet for the lease versus purchase decision. Moving on to housing, we've been discussing about automobile, but regardless of whether it is housing or automobile, you need to be smart in buying whatever you want to buy. So it's just the same step with or as that of the automobile. So housing, for many people, they equate home ownership with financial success. Once you hear that so person has got a house or purchased a house or built a house, then everybody feels happy. They feel fulfilled that okay, this person has actually fulfilled maybe is a purpose in life or one of the purposes of life and things like that. So personally, every person wants to own a home or a house. So housing is actually related to financial success in most parts of the world. Housing costs can take up to over 25% of after-tax income. All right, for you to maintain your house, for you to service your maybe housing loan or something like that, you might require over 25%. It is that expensive, so it's a great investment. That's why you need to really sit down and think about it and make sure you are careful in your decision making. Home ownership is also an investment, like everybody knows, is also an investment because at the end of the day, you might, it's the biggest investment you might make at times, especially in your lifetime. And it's possible to get, depending on the kind of housing or home, it's possible to get returns on that. Then you use the smart buying approach, like I mentioned during the automobile for the automobile. So whether it is automobile, whether it is housing or anything, you need to be smart in making your buying decision. So there are different housing options for people who want to own a house. There are houses which offer space and privacy that are personally owned. The whole house is owned by an individual, so to say, or a family. Most potential for capital appreciation. The housing, the personal housing, have the most the most potential for capital appreciation. They tend to appreciate more than the other types of housing. It's the owner of the house that are responsible for the maintenance, for the repair and renovation. So those are the things the options to consider when it comes to having a personal house. All right. We also have the cooperative and condominium, where you have the homeowners fee. Homeowners pay their own specific units in the condo, and they are planned unit developments. There are shared facilities such as swimming pool, the playground, the parks, and things like that. Even car parks and so on. They have common areas that are being shared apart from the unit, apart from each apartment or unit that belongs to each owner. Then we also have the apartment and other rental housing, but basically this type do have low maintenance. Smart buying in terms of housing, the first step as it relates to automobile is that you should be able to differentiate your want from your need. Do you actually need a big house or just a unit in a condominium or something like that, or just an apartment that you can just rest your head on or call your own? So you have to be able to differentiate what you want from what you need, especially considering your pockets. You need to also look at what about the house is important. What is important to you about the house? Is it the fact that you just want to invest in housing? Is it the fact that your family is big enough, you want to stop paying rent and get your own personal investment and things like that? Then the second thing is to know what you want before you look. Know what you actually want, because there are so many things outside there. There are so many offers, and if you don't know what you want and you want to embark on this search journey, you might be confused. So if you're looking for condominium, you have to decide, and then you look exactly for condominium. If you are looking for, housing or apartments, you have to be able to identify that before you now start searching. Affordability, location, neighborhood, conveniences, schools and so on, hospitals, other facilities are things that you need to also consider before you decide on the kind of housing that you want to purchase. The second step in smart buying is to do your own work. As with automobile, you also need to make your research, do your research in terms of buying, or buying a house. You investigate the potential home and all that goes along with it. You check the neighborhood. Is it the kind of neighborhood that you would like to stay, that you would like to live? You check the community lifestyle. All right. Then, does it satisfy your own need? You also have to consider that. And most importantly, you also need to consider the fact that how much can you afford to pay, because it's one thing to like something, is another thing to be able to afford to pay for it. So it's not everything that one likes that one will be able to afford. If that is the case, then you have to go to your own level, because you have you have expectation in terms of your income, in terms of your spending. You have a particular lifestyle or life pattern or spending pattern. So all this will determine your decision in terms of buying a house. There are different options in terms of purchasing a house. You have the one-time costs. All right, the one-time costs are those you pay at once, for example, the down payment, and then the closing or the settlement cost. All this needs to be considered before purchasing your housing. So for the closing, you have different categories. We have the point or discount point. We have the loan origination fee. You have the loan application fee, appraisal fee, and the title search fee. All these are paid once. The point or the discount point are one-time additional interest charged by the lender, and they are due at the closing point. So it's at the closing point of the contract that you pay that. The loan origination fee is also generally 1 point, all right, and it's like 1% of the loan amount used to compensate the lender. You just use that to compensate the lender for the costs, all right. And then the application fee, you have the application fee. We have the appraisal fee, which is the estimate of what your home and property are worth. And then we have to the title search fee also, which is paid to an attorney or professional for searching public land. They help you to search, and then they search the land record to make sure that the person selling is the one who actually owns it, to make sure that you are not buying from a scammer. So all these are just one-time costs. You pay them once. They are not recurrent. That's what it means. So you pay them once. So this is an estimate of initial cost of buying a home. You have the down payment, the point, the loan origination fee, application fee, appraisal fee, title search fee, title insurance, attorney's fee, recording fee. They are all one time, all right. Then you have the recurring costs. Apart from the one time, apart from those that you pay at once, you have the ones that reoccur or recurring costs. They are the the monthly mortgage payments on the loan that you have acquired to purchase the house. You have to return that monthly, apart from the down payment, which is just once. And apart from the monthly mortgage payment, you also have the PITI, which is the principal, interest, taxes, as well as insurance. All these are recurrent costs. They are recurring costs. You have to pay them maybe on a monthly basis, for example. Then we also have the maintenance and operating costs. These are related to repairs, renovations, upgrade, and landscaping. So when it comes to housing, you also have to consider the maintenance as well as the operating cost. All these that we've been mentioning are part of your research, are part of the second step of making research in smart buying. So this is just a monthly mortgage payment required to repay $10,000 loan with different interest rates and different maturity. So these are different interest rates depending on the years of maturity. If you are paying 4 interest rates and the loan will mature in 10 years, then you will be paying this amount and so on and so forth. So how these figures are derived have been explained in the steps given below. Then renting versus buying is another decision that you need to make in terms of acquiring a house. The decision is based on your lifestyle. Some people don't actually believe that it's compulsory that they get or they own a house personally, depending on the kind of lifestyle. Or some people might just feel that, okay, if at all I'm going to get it, but I get it in my hometown or village rather than in the city where I work or things like that. So for people like that, they might still prefer to rent an apartment or a house. So renting versus buying is another decision that should be taken into consideration in terms of housing. Decision is based on your lifestyle, then consider the renting advantages. For example, you have the financial and lifestyle flexibility is there. You are not under pressure. You only need to pay your monthly rent to the house owner. Then you compare the cost for each alternative. While some people will say, okay, I prefer to just pay the rent monthly, some will feel like, okay, rather than paying this rent monthly for the house owner or to the house owner rather, why not just pay the same amount to service a loan to purchase this, and at the end of the day the house becomes mine. So it depends on what is more important to individual. And then the lifestyle flexibility. So you compare the cost for each alternative, and then you also compare the advantages that are accrued to each decision, whether you want to rent or you want to buy. For example, if you are buying, the advantages include the fact that you have a longer stay and appreciation. There are itemized taxes, and there are also forced taxes that can be of advantage when you buy this house. So these are more detailed, advantages of renting or buying. One is mobility. You can relocate without incurring any real estate selling cost. Because if you purchase a house and you need to relocate, then you have to also start looking for buyer to purchase the house, and it also comes with cost. You need to get an agent to help you with the sales, and you need to pay them and things like that. So all those are related to real estate selling costs. There is no down payment. It may involve a lower monthly cash flow and so on and so forth. And then for buying, it allows you to build up equity over time. There's possibility of property appreciation. It allows for a good deal of personal freedom to remodel landscape and redecorate to suit your taste, unlike when you are renting that you cannot change the house. So all these are factors that you can consider, and whatever are your priorities will determine whether you want to decide to rent or buy at the end of the day. So this is a worksheet for the rent versus buy decision. You can compare both, especially in terms of the costs that are related. Determining what you can afford. What can you actually afford? What is the maximum amount that a bank will lend you if you want to go for a loan, a bank loan? So this will be determined by your financial history with the bank, your ability to pay, especially in terms of your income and your lifestyle or your spending and things like that. and then the appraised home value as well. What is the value of that home that you want to purchase? Should I borrow up to this maximum? You have to decide. Do you actually really need to borrow up to the maximum, or you just be prudent enough to get something in between, or minimum, so that you just get an apartment that will serve the main purpose? Then how big a down payment can I afford is also another consideration, because the bigger your down payment, the lesser your maybe the interest rate. At times your interest rate might be reduced, or even the remaining loan that you need to service will definitely reduce, and then the time within which you use to repay the loan will definitely reduce. So this is the worksheet for calculating the maximum mortgage loan for which you qualify. Financing the purchase, the mortgage, there are different options of sources of mortgages. You can go to the savings and loans and commercial banks. You can go to credit union and mutual savings bank to get this loan. You can go to mortgage bankers. They originate from loan, they sell to bank, and then pension fund, or this whatever, or the mortgage brokers. All these are sources from which you can get mortgages for your house. The mortgage brokers are middlemen comparison shop for a fee to secure mortgage loan for borrowers. All right, so these are the sources from which you can get your mortgages for your house. Conventional and government-backed mortgages are also available. Conventional loan can be from a bank or a savings and loan secured by the property. We also have the government-backed loan, which are loaned from traditional lender but insured by the government. All right, they are insured by the government. They have lower interest rates. You can pay smaller down payment, and then they are less strict financial requirements. But they require more paperwork. You sign a lot of documents, you provide a lot of information. There is higher closing cost. Of course, when the down payment is low, the closing cost will be higher, and then there's limited funding in terms of government-backed loans. Monthly payment doesn't change regardless of the market interest rate. The interest rates are fixed for the fixed mortgages. All right, the interest rates are fixed regardless of the prevailing interest interest rate in the market. So you can lock in low rates for the life of the loan. You can an assumable loan can be transferred to a new buyer. You can transfer your loan to a new buyer in case you are no longer interested in the contract. Then the prepayment privilege allows early cash payment to be applied to the principal if the interest rates are fixed, if the mortgage's interest rates are fixed. Next is the adjustable rate mortgages, or ARM. The interest rate of ARM fluctuates with the level of current interest rate. So the interest rate at which you are starting with the contract might not be what you're going to end with, because it fluctuates. Unlike the fixed rate mortgages, the adjustable rate mortgages fluctuate with the level of the prevailing interest rate in the market. So if it increases, then your own interest rate is likely to increase. The initial rate, or the teaser rate, is low for only a short time period and then adjusted upwards. Then for the interest rate index, it rates on the adjustable rate mortgages that are tied to index, not controlled by the lender, such as maybe the 6 or 12-month US treasuries. So they are basically tied to an index, and they are not controlled by the lender. The margin is the amount over the index rate that the ARM is being set, and then the adjustment interval is how frequently the rate can be reset. Don't forget that we are talking about adjustable rate mortgages. So And for adjustable rate mortgages, it depends or fluctuates with the interest rate. So for the interest rate also, how frequently can they be reset? All right, how frequently can they be reset? That is what we call the adjustment interval. Rate cap limits how much the interest rate can change. It's going to like put a seal, like okay, there is a maximum of so percent that it can't go beyond such rate. The payment cap set dollar limit on how much the monthly payment can increase during any adjustment period. If interest rate goes up, the monthly payment may be too small to cover the interest, the interest due. So this is what is referred to as negative amortization. And unpaid interest is added to the unpaid loan balance, thereby increasing the size. Once you are not able to pay the interest, of course, it will be added to the loan that you are still not paid, and it continues to increase. It continues to increase. So that is another setback or disadvantage of the adjustable rate mortgages. So here are arm innovations. We have the convertible arm, which offers the borrower the option to convert the arm loan to fixed rate loan. At a point in time, you may consider the convertible arm. If you are going for the convertible arm, then a point might come that you might want to change to a fixed rate loan. We also have the reduction option arm, which offers the borrower a one-time opportunity to adjust the interest rate. It can give you can be allowed to adjust the interest rate just once. Then we have the two-step arm, which combine the aspect of fixed rate and the adjustable rate mortgages. Arms are low interest rates in the early years. These are the things that you need to know in terms of the arms and the fixed rate and mortgages. Arms are low interest rates in the early years, although they might increase afterwards because you have to adjust for interest. They can get larger loan because the PITI is lower. Okay, the principal, the interest, the taxes, as well as the insurance is lower, so you can afford to pay larger part of your loan. And then you reset interest rate. Reset interest rate push arm payment upward. That is another setback, because you can, once the interest rate increases, then your payments will increase because they have to adjust for the interest rate. For the fixed rate mortgages in general, they are better than arm because the payments never change. You already know how much you want to pay. The interest rate also doesn't change, so it allows you for control and planning. You can control, and then you can also plan your finances, since you already know how much you are paying monthly to service your loan and things like that. So there's an opportunity for you to plan, unlike the adjustable rates, which might just occur anytime, and then once it's adjusted, the amount you may need to pay will increase or might increase. Specialty mortgage loan options are they are various. One, we have the balloon payment mortgage loan. These are small monthly payments for 7 to 5 years, then the entire loan will be due. We have the graduated payment mortgage, where the payment set in advance, rising 5 to 10 years. Then we have the growing equity mortgage. They are designed to let the home buyer pay off the mortgage early. Apart from those, we have the shared appreciation mortgage, where the borrower receives below the market interest rate and the lender receives a portion of the future appreciation. And then we have the interest mortgage, interest only mortgage, where the interest only payment for initial set period, and then you pay both interest and principal for the remainder of the loan. So initially you start with the payment of the interest first. You pay only for the interest first, then later you now start paying for the principal. Option payments and mortgages can make different types of mortgage payment each month. The options include 1, amount less than interest due, or the interest only, or the payment amount of 150 or 30-year fixed rate loan. So these are specialty mortgage loan options that are available. What are the risks associated with specialty mortgages? One is a big jump in monthly payment of interest rates rise. All right, the interest rate might just rise, and then you're going to pay much for that particular period. You read the fine print, you know how much your monthly payments could increase, you know when and whether you could afford them, as well as the penalties that are associated. You have to know the penalties that are associated in case you default in paying the money. Beware of subprime mortgages and predatory lending. There are some predatory lenders there. They will appear to be good looking, they make everything, they make it colorful, and just for you to involve in the contract, and at the end of the day you realize that they are just trying to suck you up of your finances. For example, we have the subprime mortgages, which are mortgages taken out by borrowers with low credit scores. Predatory lenders take advantage of this kind of lenders. The abusive loans are high-cost loans with little chance of paying off. Beware of abusive loan where you have to pay high costs. Okay, that's the interest. Then avoid predatory loans with knowledge, especially those you have knowledge of. These are common predatory mortgage lending practices: steering, excessive points and broker fees, not considering the borrower's ability to pay, yield spread premium, balloon loan flipping, prepayment penalty, and so on and so forth. So all these are the common predatory mortgage lending practices that we have. The mortgage decisions. We also have to consider mortgage decisions in terms of your purchase. It talks about the length or the term of the loan. We have the 15 or 30-year maturity on a mortgage. You need to consider the prepayment opportunities, the size of the monthly payment, as well as the interest rate, because all these are combined. All these need to be considered before you decide on the kind of mortgage, whether you want to go for a long term or the short term. So this is just a figure showing the proportion of each payment that goes towards the principal and interest on a 30-year 8% fixed rate mortgage and for $80,000. So for example, this is the impact of the loan term on the total interest paid and monthly payment. If the length of the mortgage loan is 15 years, the monthly payment, you can see that it will be high, while the total interest is around 57. For a 20 years mortgage loan, the monthly payment is lower considered, compared to that of 15 years. 15 years will be paying more monthly, will be paying as high as $764, while if you are spreading it across up to 20 years, you will be paying only $669. But in terms of the interest that you have to pay, you can see that it is more than the person that wants to pay for over 15 years. All right, you'll be paying as high as $80,000 plus as total interest. Then looking at the length of mortgage loan for that of 30 years, you are paying over 30 years. Of course, your monthly payment will be very low compared to the shorter years. So you'll be paying as low as $587, but looking at your total interest, it's as high as $131. So you need to consider these two very well, especially if you can afford to pay higher monthly. So the earlier you are able to, pay for all this, then the sooner you complete the repayment of the loan. Comparing a shorter versus long-term loan, what are the advantages? For example, for a 15-year mortgage, like we've seen in the previous slide, there is lower interest rates. It provides a discipline to force savings. You are able to save. It saves quite a bit of interest over the life of the mortgage. You pay less interest. Equity is built up at a faster pace, and then it increase, and the increased equity may allow you to trade up to a more expensive house. So those are the advantages of the shorter year mortgage of like 15 years, for example. Okay, considering that of the 30 years, you will see that you are making lower payments, you have more financial flexibility, you have more cash to spend on some other things. It provides you affordability. If the mortgage contains a prepayment provision, you can mimic the payment pattern. If you are borrowing on credit card, then you have they are much more expensive form of debt than mortgages, so you will be better off paying off your credit card debt before you took a higher mortgage and payment. If your investment alternative earns returns well above the mortgage interest rate, then you are a disciplined and you are a disciplined saver. Then the tax associated with your mortgage debt makes a long-term mortgage more attractive. So it actually depends on what you want really. So for housing, smart buying in action, coming up with the down payments. How do you get this down payment? All right, it could be from your savings, maybe you saved over time. It could be gift from families and friends. At least 5% of closing costs have to come from the home buyer. All right, the home buyer is the person who is purchasing the house. Then we have the private and mortgage insurance. They can allow you to borrow more than 80% of the appraised home value. They charge 0.3 to 1.5% of the loan amount. And then we have the pre-qualifying, which has a maximum amount you qualify for, confirmed by a lender. So these are the options or the sources from which you can come up with your down payments, make your private mortgage insurance, and so on. So making your purchase, as we've explained in terms of purchasing your car, you also have to compare the shops, compare the seller, or compare the traditional real estate agents. You have to consider whether looking at the independent or the exclusive buyer broker. You get the item or the house inspected, you go and check it yourself. Don't just rely on other information that is being provided. You get it inspected and then you make an offer and then agree. All right, so you make an offer and agree. So agreeing just means that you can negotiate the prices. All right, you can negotiate the prices of the house. Contract, you need to state the terms and conditions of the contract, the earnest money, the closing, the settlement of the closing statement. All these have to be taken into consideration, well stated, written in the contract, and considered when or before you are making your purchase of the housing. This is the checklist of housing for buyers and sellers. If you are selling your house and decide to work with a realtor, those that deal with real estate, so you have to look for a realtor that works full time and has at least 3 years experience, and so on. You make sure that there is an out clause in the contract which allows you to terminate the contract whenever you want. All right, don't lock yourself in the bag with a bad agent for like a whole 6 months and more. Pick a realtor who works and lives in your area for easy access. If you are buying, if you are a buyer, then when you are deciding you have to decide what you can afford. All right, always remember that those numbers are meant as a ceiling, not a floor. If at all possible, try to avoid the need for private and mortgage insurance. When you are looking at what to borrow what you need, not what you can. Understand how your real estate agent is being compensated. Generally, it is through a commission, which means the more you pay, the more they are going to make. So maintaining your purchase is the last step. Of course, this will occur after you must have purchased the house. You pay attention to refinancing options. Consider the refinancing, if rates fall 2% or more, Then if you incur closing costs again, then you may need to consider refinancing. There is a worksheet for refinancing analysis for you to be able to see how it's being calculated. So summarily, we've tried to separate needs from wants, we've compared products, housing, automobile, and so on. Negotiate, maintain products, and resolve complaint. We've talked about leasing or buying a vehicle that fits both your personal and financial needs. We've talked about choosing housing that meets your need, what to look for, what to look out for, factors to consider, and so on and so forth. Then getting the most out of your mortgage. How do you get the most out of your mortgage? We've also discussed about that. Here is a worksheet showing the rent versus buy decision calculations, whether you want to rent a car or a house, or you want to buy. So the calculation, this is how you're going to calculate everything for you to be able to decide or make a decision at the end of the day. And this brings us to the end of the lesson for today. Thank you so much for your audience. Hope to see you in the next class again, inshallah. All right, bye. Take care.